and welcome back to Football Made Simple. The final Champions League quarter-final encounter took centre stage as Pep City and Rudy Garcia's Lyon battled for the chance to take on Bayern Munich. In a match where City came in as favourites, the match ended 3-1 to Lyon, thanks to goals by Cornet and Dembele, whilst De Bruyne netted for City. The XG did indicate that City created the better chances, 2.3 to 1. However, it should be noted that this XG model doesn't factor in the positioning of keepers and defenders, so Lyon's first and third goals would have had smaller values than reality. But what tactics were on display from both managers? In this video, we take a look. A quick reminder of the formations used by both sides, as seen on the OneFootball app. OneFootball will get you match updates, formation updates, as well as player and team stats, and so much more. And the best part is, you can get it absolutely free through the sponsored link in the description below. And a big thanks to everyone who responded to the poll and has been able to support FMS on Patreon so far. If you have the means, head on over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple and you'll get access to videos such as how to fix Barcelona and Bayern's 2012-13 win over Barcelona. And if you don't have the means to support, that's absolutely fine. Enjoy the video and let's get into it. Let's start by looking at what City looked to do with the ball. In the first half, City started out with a back three when they had the ball. And generally, Lyon sat in a mid-block with a 5-3-2 for the majority of the game, so City often came through the initial phase of play relatively unscathed. Guardiola had anticipated that Lyon would stick to their two-man frontline, so by matching up with a back three of their own, they had the man advantage in these build-up zones. In the first half especially, City struggled with penetration on the right-hand side. This was because Aouar was the spare man in midfield, given license to push higher whenever Fernandinho tried to carry out the ball, whilst the other midfielders pushed high on Rodri to make central progression difficult. Of course, De Bruyne generally drifted around the right in the first half, but he tended to push high into the right half space, and the third centre-back came in handy for Lyon, as he was easily tracked in this region. So usually the outlet was to Walker. However, as there was no wing threat behind Cornet, he could also push high on Walker and try to force him backwards. Lyon tried to stay compact down the centre, so City had to attack down the left-hand side, where they had more joy. This was because when Laporte had the ball, Gundogan moved fairly high and wide, usually drawing the attention of his marker, Kakere. Cancelo was also very aggressive in his movements higher up the pitch. This often left Laporte with time and space, and he was comfortable moving higher up the pitch with the ball, so City would have the numerical advantage on the left. Sterling and Jesus often positioned themselves between the centre-backs, so as soon as a City man had time to get their head up, they would make the runs into this region, and Sterling in particular got into this position on several occasions, and then he would look for the cutback. And we see shades of this in De Bruyne's goal. This time it's Mahrez who drops into the left-hand space, and Sterling makes the run into the space between the centre-backs. De Bruyne then breaks from midfield to get on the end of the cutback for the goal. And City did change their shape when Mahrez came on for Fernandinho, into a modified 4-3-3, with Sterling narrow and De Bruyne higher and to the left, so at times it did look like a 4-4-2. And this often meant that when City's pivots drew Lyon's, they would try to get into the space created between the lines where they had central numbers, but Lyon's centre-backs were very front foot, meaning the space was quickly closed down. In terms of creating chances from patterns of play, Lyon managed to suffocate City. But this also worked against City for the second goal. Laporte is high up, trying to create the overload, and as discussed, City's men are all central trying to get between the lines. But the pass is intercepted, and Laporte is now scrambling to get back in position, and despite the hint of a foul, the goal is given. But what did Lyon look to do when they had the ball, with an effectively used 28.3% possession? They didn't have much of the ball, but when they did, it was on the left-hand side, and they looked to take advantage of it. Marcelo would often shift to left centre-back, whilst Cornet would then be able to move into the left wing position. So between him and Depay, they could create a 2 versus 1 against Walker. In this same phase, Lyon could form a double pivot and Aouar was the key, as if Depay was wide, he stayed in the central midfield to provide the passing option. However, when Depay did go narrow, Aouar would move wide to ensure the 2 versus 1. Walker then couldn't close him down due to the man looking to run in behind him. All of this was coupled with City's high line, meaning that the ball in behind was consistently on. We see shades of this in Cornet's goal. Marçal from left centre-back pushed wide, and Cornet is now the left winger, whilst Aouar helps to create the overload. So with Depay central, it opens up space for the forward to make the run behind Garcia. Despite the good recovery tackle, Edison is out of position, leading to the goal. And generally, this was Lyon's major pattern of play, to try and get behind City as often as they could due to their high line. And while it may be a simple tactic, it was effective and secured their place in the semi-final. Overall, it was a game that summarized City's season, missing glaring opportunities and being unstable defensively, the formula which has led to them losing more games than they should this season. But what do you make of the match? Drop it down below. How do you see the two semi-finals progressing? A special thanks to all my Patreons, including new members to the Ultra tier, Benko, Alistair, Alvin Allen, and none other than Patrick Capili. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.